What if the person you overlooked turned out to be the mastermind behind everything you admired? This isn't just a story of luxury. It's a journey of resilience, revelation, and justice that will leave you speechless. When Evelyn Monroe, an unassuming elderly woman, stepped into one of New York's most prestigious hotels, she wasn't treated like royalty. The staff's subtle dismissiveness and cold stares hinted at something deeper. Little did they know, this quiet guest wasn't just anyone. She was a visionary behind the entire empire they worked for. What unfolded next wasn't just shocking. It completely transformed the lives of everyone involved. Stay with us to uncover a story that will challenge your assumptions, ignite your emotions, and prove that true power doesn't always come dressed in grandeur. Before we dive deeper into this gripping story, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, Epic Story Moments, yet, now is the perfect time. Hit the bell icon so you never miss an update, and be the first to hear our incredible new stories. Don't forget to like, share, and comment to support more heartwarming tales like this. Let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. The brisk autumn breeze brushed against Evelyn Monroe's face as she stepped out of the cab, pausing for a moment to take in the towering Monroe Regency Hotel. Its sleek glass exterior glinted in the golden afternoon light, standing as a monument to luxury and sophistication amidst the bustle of New York City. For most people, the building was just another opulent destination on Fifth Avenue. But for Evelyn, it was a culmination of decades of dreams, grit, and sacrifice. Her modest attire, a simple coat and a well-worn leather handbag, blended seamlessly into the urban crowd, giving no hint of her stature. At 74 years old, Evelyn was more than just a successful businesswoman. She was a pioneer, a black woman who had defied expectations in the male-dominated world of the 1970s to create a hospitality empire. Yet today, she chose anonymity. She wasn't here as the celebrated CEO, but as an ordinary guest, determined to experience her hotel without pretense or fanfare. Evelyn stepped through the grand revolving doors into the hotel lobby, where luxury dripped from every corner. A dazzling crystal chandelier hung from the ceiling, scattering light across the polished marble floors. Guests lounged on plush velvet chairs, sipping cocktails, while impeccably dressed staff moved efficiently through the space. To anyone else, it was a picture of perfection. But as Evelyn walked across the lobby, the soft sound of her sensible shoes against the floor barely registered among the staff. The young man at the concierge desk, whose name tag read Andrew, barely glanced at her before turning back to his screen. To him, she was just another elderly woman, perhaps lost or in the wrong place. Evelyn caught the faint flicker of disdain in his polished smile as she approached. "Can I help you, ma'am?" Andrew's tone was polite, but laced with condescension. His eyes swept over her modest coat and her sensible shoes, dismissing her without a second thought. "Yes," Evelyn said calmly, her voice unwavering. "I'd like to book a room." Andrew's lips curved into a tight, practiced smile. "This is a premium hotel," he said, leaning slightly forward. "Rooms here start at $11,200 a night. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at one of our sister properties nearby." Evelyn's gaze didn't waver. Decades of enduring such dismissive attitudes had given her a patience that was both her armor and her weapon. She pulled a sleek black credit card from her handbag and placed it on the counter. "Please check for availability," she said firmly. For a moment, Andrew's practiced facade faltered as he registered the Centurion American Express card. But he recovered quickly, processing her request with deliberate slowness. Behind him, two other staff members whispered among themselves, their muffled laughter reaching Evelyn's ears. Phrases like "wrong place" and "can't afford it" floated in the air, but Evelyn stood tall, refusing to let their arrogance chip away at her resolve. Finally, Andrew handed her the key card. "We have an entry-level suite available," he said, his tone almost pitying. "Nothing fancy." "That will do," Evelyn replied, taking the key and walking away without another word. The suite was breathtaking, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering a stunning view of Central Park. Every detail, from the plush king-size bed to the artisanal chocolates on the table, screamed luxury. But Evelyn barely noticed. The sting of her encounter at the front desk lingered like a bitter taste. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she allowed herself a moment to reflect. This wasn't the first time she had been underestimated, nor would it be the last. But this time, it was different. This was her hotel, her vision, her legacy, and she wouldn't let it be tarnished. Opening her laptop, Evelyn logged into the hotel's internal systems. As CEO, she had access to every detail, from guest reviews to staff performance reports. What she found was troubling. Unresolved complaints from minority guests, employee surveys hinting at favoritism, and a culture of subtle discrimination that had gone unchecked. One review caught her eye: beautiful hotel, but the staff made me feel like I didn't belong. Won't be returning. Signed by Mrs. Thompson. It echoed Evelyn's own experience, making her stomach churn with both anger and determination. Her phone buzzed. It was Marcus, her trusted assistant. "Ms. Monroe, do you need anything?" "Yes, Marcus," Evelyn said, her tone steady but firm. "Prepare the board for an emergency meeting and send me the personnel files for the front desk and restaurant staff." "Is everything okay?" Marcus asked, sensing the edge in her voice. "It will be," Evelyn replied, her eyes narrowing. "But not before I make some changes." Later that evening, Evelyn made her way to the hotel's Michelin-starred restaurant, the Regency Room, dressed in the same modest attire. The maitre d', a polished man named Scott, greeted her with a tight smile. "Do you have a reservation?" he asked, his tone polite but devoid of warmth. "No," Evelyn replied, "but I'm staying here and hoped you could accommodate me." Scott glanced at his tablet, then at Evelyn. "I'm sorry, ma'am. We're fully booked tonight." Evelyn's eyes swept the dining room. While many tables were occupied, several remained empty, their pristine white linens untouched. She looked back at Scott, who now seemed more interested in avoiding her gaze than offering a solution. Evelyn Monroe entered the grand lobby of the Monroe Regency, a towering symbol of luxury nestled in the heart of New York City. Clad in a modest coat with a weathered handbag tucked under her arm, she moved unnoticed through the polished marble expanse. The quiet elegance of her presence was starkly out of place amidst the bustle of staff catering to high-profile guests and the soft murmur of conversations from patrons lounging on plush velvet chairs. No one gave her a second glance, and why would they? To them, she was just an elderly woman, out of her element in a place meant for the elite. But Evelyn was no ordinary woman. She was a visionary behind the Monroe Regency, the crown jewel of an empire she had painstakingly built from nothing. Decades earlier, as a young black woman in a male-dominated business world, Evelyn had endured discrimination, rejection, and countless obstacles. Yet, her grit and determination had propelled her forward, allowing her to defy expectations and shatter barriers. Today, however, she wasn't here as the celebrated CEO. She had come incognito, her unassuming appearance a deliberate choice to observe her hotel's operations firsthand. Evelyn believed that true leadership demanded an understanding of the experience from the ground level. As she approached the concierge desk, her presence finally registered with Andrew, a sharply dressed young man with a rehearsed smile that barely masked his condescension. "Can I help you, ma'am?" he asked, his eyes sweeping over her sensible shoes and worn coat. His tone was polite but cold, as though dismissing her before she had even spoken. "Yes, I'd like to book a room," Evelyn replied calmly. Andrew's smirk deepened. "This is a premium hotel. Rooms start at $11,200 a night. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable somewhere else." Evelyn met his gaze evenly, her voice steady. "I'm aware of the prices. Please check for availability." Reluctantly, Andrew turned to his computer, his fingers moving sluggishly over the keyboard. Behind him, two staff members whispered and chuckled, their muffled laughter stinging Evelyn's pride. After what felt like an eternity, Andrew handed her a key card with a mocking smile. "Enjoy your stay." Evelyn's suite was stunning, a spacious haven with floor-to-ceiling windows offering breathtaking views of Central Park. Yet, the sting of the encounter lingered. Sitting on the edge of the bed, she reflected on the irony of her situation. Here she was, the creator of this magnificent space, treated as though she didn't belong. Later, Evelyn dined at the hotel's famed restaurant. The maitre d', Scott, greeted her with the same dismissive attitude as Andrew. Despite empty tables in clear view, he claimed the restaurant was fully booked. When she persisted, she was begrudgingly seated near the noisy kitchen, far from the ambience of the main dining area. Evelyn endured the humiliation in silence, her appetite overshadowed by the familiar ache of exclusion. Back in her suite, Evelyn logged into the hotel's internal systems. Her findings were troubling. Numerous unresolved complaints from minority guests and staff, surveys hinting at a culture of favoritism and bias. Determined to address these issues, Evelyn called her assistant Marcus, instructing him to prepare personnel files and arrange an emergency meeting with the board. The following morning, Evelyn addressed the entire staff in the hotel's grand ballroom. Standing at the podium, her commanding presence silenced the room. "For those who don't know me," she began, "I am Evelyn Monroe, the founder and CEO of the Monroe Hotel Group." Gasps rippled through the crowd as employees exchanged shocked glances. Evelyn recounted her experience, her voice steady but firm. "What I encountered here was not just poor customer service. It was a betrayal of the values this company was built on. Discrimination and disrespect have no place in my hotels." Without naming names, she described the behaviors she had witnessed, her words cutting through the room like a blade. She announced sweeping changes: mandatory diversity and sensitivity training, an anonymous reporting system for guests and staff, and immediate consequences for those failing to uphold company values. Andrew and Scott were among those dismissed that day, their pale faces betraying their disbelief. Evelyn stayed after the meeting, speaking individually with employees, especially those from marginalized backgrounds. Many shared their own experiences of bias and thanked her for taking decisive action. With a new leadership team in place, Evelyn spent the day outlining plans to rebuild trust, both within the organization and with its patrons. That evening, Evelyn dined in the restaurant again, this time at the best table. The staff, fully aware of her identity, treated her with utmost respect. But Evelyn reminded the new general manager, Carla, that true change wasn't about how they treated her. It was about how they treated everyone. Word of Evelyn's visit spread quickly, making headlines and sparking widespread praise for her commitment to justice and equality. For Evelyn, the experience was more than a professional victory. It was a deeply personal one. She had confronted prejudice head-on and emerged stronger, ensuring her empire remained a beacon of progress and inclusivity. As she left the hotel the next day, Evelyn felt a renewed sense of purpose. Her journey wasn't just about building a business. It was about creating a legacy where everyone, regardless of background, felt they belonged. As Evelyn walked out of the Monroe Regency, the city lights reflecting her unwavering determination, she knew this was just the beginning of a larger journey. Her actions had sparked change, and her commitment to fairness and equality would inspire countless others. If Evelyn's story moved you, share it with others to spread her powerful message of justice and inclusivity. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories that highlight the strength of the human spirit. Together, let's create a world where everyone belongs.